Hello, fifth graders. Welcome to chapters 5 and 6 mini lesson today. So I'm going to be doing our mini lesson a little bit different today. I'm going to be doing a pre-reading mini lesson and then a post-reading mini lesson. So make sure after you read chapters 5 and 6, you check back into the next mini lesson for a little bit more from me. So today we're going to be talking about comparing and contrasting characters. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to share my screen, and I'm going to pull up a visual for you. Percent. So when we compare and contrast characters, there's a lot that we can compare and contrast about them. You can compare and contrast characters by saying one has interests in basketball and one has interests in soccer. Or you can compare their character traits. One is very friendly and one is very rude. So take a look at, let's first look at right here. When we compare and contrast characters, we look at, so one thing we can look at in pink is their characters' actions. So you can think to yourself, do these two characters act the same way? Are they both kind to others, or is one kind and is the other mean? So you can compare their actions. You can also compare characters' thoughts. Do these two characters think similar thoughts? The words that characters say, the way that they speak to others, do they say similar things? Or is one rude and one's really polite? You can think about characters' families. So these characters have similar families. They have similar upbringings. Does one have 4 siblings and one's an only child? And finally, you can think, do these characters have similar hobbies and interests? So if you look to the left at this Venn diagram, you'll see that these are Stanley and Zero from Holes. So they're not the book that we're currently working with, but they are characters that we know. So as you can see here, Stanley and Zero are compared by saying, by their actions, Stanley did steal shoes, whereas Stanley didn't steal shoes and Zero did. Zero was described as quiet and not intelligent, and Stanley was described as adventurous and determined. And then the similarities between the two of them are the pretty obvious ones. They're both at Camp Green Lake, they both dig holes, and they both escaped from camp, so on and so forth. So those are different ways that we can describe, compare and contrast characters. Okay, comparing is when you find the similarities, and contrasting is when you find the differences. So as you are reading chapters 5 and 6 today, I want you to create yourself, if you can, if you have pencil and paper in front of you, a little Venn diagram just like this. Because we're going to be comparing Crash, also known as John, and Penn Webb. So this is a really great resource. You might want to make the center part a little bit bigger though, although I can't think of many similarities between the two of them. I want you to create something like this while you're reading. And then after you've read chapter 5 and 6, check back in and we'll think of some similarities and differences between the two of them. So I gave one sample over here on this slide. I quickly said, Crash, also known as John, seems to be aggressive and looks for problems with Penn. Whereas on the other hand, I described Penn to not be very street smart. He doesn't always realize when Crash is teasing him. So that would be somebody who doesn't necessarily have street smarts and isn't as aware. So those are just 2 examples of 2 differences between those characters. Check back in after reading for part 2 of our mini lesson.